as unprepared as we normally are, and didn't think of writing a bit. And
I am far too prepared for this, so it's probably going to suck.
Holy, you are far too prepared. I am way less prepared even than usual, which is like a very low bar to clear that I've limboed under. So there's going to be some balance.
I just want to put this out there and say that we might be doing this wrong as far as a perception goes.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, we walked into the room going, man, this is going to blow.
Oh, wait. Yeah, you're right. Dude, this shit is lit. Is that better?
So lit.
This podcast right here?
Yeah, this one.
Bananas. BANANAS.
Otherwise known as the Fairly KickAss podcast.
This is like a fucking meme museum is what this is.
Museum.
Yes.
Museum. Oh my God.
I didn't just say that. That's terrible.
It's whatever you just said, because that happens to be like 20 years old at this point. So it officially would be in the museum. Museum. No, I'm not going to workshop that any farther. Let's let it go.
Oh, it's good to be back.
Is it?
Memes and all.
Yeah.
After a long layoff, one of us getting sick, one of us being sick of working too much. And
that's true for all three of us.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
You just got the heavy-handed, you got the fuzzy end of the lollipop this time.
This time, yeah. Y'all have experienced that lollipop far too many times as well.
Yeah.
But we're here. We're free at least for the next 45 to 75 minutes, is however long this ends up being. And we're going to talk about some February.
All the February.
There's not a whole ton of February because it's literally a little bit less than everything else.
It's a tiny month.
You know what? In terms of like calendar days, yes. But February usually feels like so much more than that. And in this case, I felt like that was a good thing musically.
Like it really packs it in.
Yeah, like really like crams like all of it into those days. And honestly, I was here for it musically this time.
I have to agree. Like there was a lot of good. There really wasn't anything that I listened to that like was panned. Even the stuff that was like, was still like, on the upper end. I feel like I could have had 3 or 4 number 3s. Actually, I feel like my whole list could have just been all number 1s, all number 3s. Like there wasn't a lot of separation. Like the good was good, but nothing really rose to the top of the heap.
Wait, so no 2s, huh?
2s.
You're giving the old 1-3-1-3.
Not a 2 to speak of.
I do have like write-ups for my honorable mentions, if that says anything.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Right? Like, because I was in that same boat where like there's a whole lot of my number 1 is up there, but at the bottom of that top tier, there was quite a bit. So I felt like I had to say something about them.
Yeah, I've got a little bit written for some of my honorable mentions. Like I said, they could have been number 3, so I kind of wrote them in the same way, just a little bit less. But yeah, I think it was a pretty dang solid month overall on the album side.
Right on.
Dan, what about the charting single side? Would you say we've finally gotten past like the beginning of the year doldrums, or you think we're still trying to find our footing?
No, I definitely, because I still had more than 20 songs this month hit the charts, which has been slow the last couple of months. And I had to check to make sure. I was like, oh, was there really that bad? Like, there was definitely some anchors this month. And as a tease, it'll actually be an old school bottom of the list.
Okay. Oh. All right.
So
love to hear that.
I think we needed that.
I've been apparently too nice in some areas, and I finally get to be not nice to those areas.
Yeah, a little bit to get through before we get to the not nice. I think we're probably going to be more towards the nice end for the album. So, yeah, Jay, why don't you kick us off this month with your number 3?
I can do that. I'll say it's my number 3. It is a little bit jarring sometimes when artists make Lewis Carrollian leaps into new genres and sounds. And if that's the case for you, if it is jarring for you when this happened, you should probably just stop listening to Willow. She just hopped on a literally figurative spaceship with Pedal Rock Black. This record is her 7th studio project, which, side note, makes me feel ancient, considering I still remember her whipping her hair back and forth. It is a wild, self-produced dive into experimental jazz fusion. We're talking no lead singles, no promo, just a surprise drop that opens with a spoken word poem by the legendary George Clinton. And it feels less like a traditional album and more like a 26-minute ayahuasca meditation session in a very expensive forest. While her 2024 project Empathogen, which I loved, dipped its toes into these jazzy waters, Pedal Rock Black just dives headfirst into the deep end with non-traditional time signatures, avant-garde rhythms. It's definitely not for your casual gym playlist unless your workout involves astral projecting while doing Pilates. Willow is using her voice as an instrument here rather than just a vehicle for hooks. Her vocals are layered, intricate, and often blend right into sparse, distorted guitars and live drums, giving off major Alice Coltrane or Dirty Projector vibes. The lyrics lean heavy into Buddhist philosophy and repetitive mantras. Tracks like Not a Fantasy are basically a vibe check for your soul. It's fascinating to see her move so far away from the pop punk energy of Lately I Feel Everything into something so cerebral and loose. Some parts are so experimental they flirt with being organized noise, but with features from Kamasi Washington and the Tune Yards, the musicianship is undeniable. And it's the kind of record that makes you want to buy a turtleneck, drink expensive tea, and pretend you understand exactly what a storm-smeared picture is. Willow may have started her career as just a Nepo baby. At this point, she is a full-on musical mad scientist.
I feel like, and I don't necessarily want to say this in terms of sound, although there is certainly some overlap there, but I feel like the kind of vibe of Willow, and specifically the vibe of being so mature in sound, so mature in vocal sound as well as musical presentation all the way around, is very, very similar to someone who's also very young and also like wise beyond her years in the ways of music, and also is a very accomplished jazz musician already at the age of 26, and that's Samara Joy.
Yeah, I could draw a lot of parallels to that. Yeah, that's absolutely accurate. And the fact that Willow's voice is a lot of the instrumentation on this record. Like the first couple tracks, first track is spoken word, and then immediately after that, it's pretty much just drum and chopped up Willow's vocals. And then later in the record, you get more instrumentation and some fun stuff going on there, but beautiful and weird and wonderful.
Yeah, weird can be a bad thing sometimes in music, depending on what the weird is. Like, I will always appreciate it, even if I don't enjoy it, if that makes sense. So maybe not bad, but just not my cup of tea. But I feel like Willow's brand of weird has always been something that I've kind of gravitated towards, especially as it's gotten weirder and kind of away from that sort of
MGK.
More. Yeah, exactly. That's. That'll do it right there. We could all learn a lesson.
Yeah, exactly.
Steer clear of MGK. It's nothing but bad news.
What lesson are you going to teach us with your number 3?
I think the lesson I'm going to teach you, all of you, with my number 3 is that it's okay to love an album that you have issues with. Because that's where I'm at with my number 3. I don't think it's perfect whatsoever. And I have a couple of complaints that I will air those particular grievances about it as we get there. But luckily, there's enough of it to make the overall experience into a huge positive, which that in and of itself is also a bone I have to pick, which I will get to in a minute. The album is the first full length since 2021 for the one-time toast of the absolute hip-hop scene. If you rewind back to like the very early 2010s, the guy, the one rapper kind of coming out that everyone's like, this is the one, this is the future, not future, but the future of hip-hop, and that being J. Cole with the aptly named kind of album, The Fall Off. And I say aptly named because, yes, that is what has happened to J. Cole's career and just his visual as an artist over the last 10 years or so. Falling from that point of prominence, kind of tumbling down, whereas, some of his contemporaries of the time, the Tyler, the Creators and the aforementioned Futures and of course Kendrick, kind of sprinting and staying in that top spot. Cole very much having fallen off, despite still putting out new music. He's just always kind of been an afterthought since that point. And that's kind of the crux of this album. I don't want to call it like the tropey, like, I've been here for years, I've never left kind of thing, but more so like, hey, by the way, I can still write hits. By the way, I can still rap my ass off. By the way, my flow is still impeccable. And for the most part, that holds true. There are some absolute bangers on this album. My very favorite being off of the first of the double length or the double album, the song Safety. Absolute just vintage J. Cole in every sense of the word. But for all of those, there are 24 tracks. There are bound to be some that are just kind of shit, which brings me to 39 Intro, which is the first track off of the second album, where that kind of aforementioned shit kind of starts. The second half, a little bit weaker than the first, but overall, like I said, there's enough meat on this bone to make it a good record. It could have been trimmed down quite a bit, sure, but it's as a reminder of that dude from the early 2010s, I could really go, I think this album really helped to set the scene for it.
So rarely do you and I disagree vehemently about stuff. I fucking hated it. I really did.
Oh, wow.
I did not like it at all. In fact, I didn't finish it. Maybe if you were saying the second record might be better than the first, is that, or did you say the other way around?
The other way around. Yeah, I thought the second record was a bit weaker, honestly.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I
if you don't like the first, I didn't think you're really going to dislike it.
Yeah, I didn't make it to the second one. So I don't know what it was about it. Like, I don't know. I remember thinking like it felt like he was trying to like write his own legend instead of writing songs. But I didn't lyrically nothing struck me, and I thought his flow felt plastic. Which is something I've never thought about him before, even on some of the bad stuff that wasn't very good. I didn't feel that way about it, and it didn't hit me. I did not enjoy it.
Yeah, I'll go with you for sure. This is definitely like a write your own legend sort of vibe, which I think that certainly did not land in several of the tracks. I think if this was a 12-track single album instead of a 24-track double and just took all the good parts, I would have loved it tremendously more. But I could see like it's not his best work by far. Yeah, 100% give you that. This isn't Born Sinner. We're not even in that same like ballpark.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it is rare, and I love that when this happens. Like it's so rare that like we have. Sometimes it's like you're really feeling something, I'm kind of about it, but it's hardly ever like, oh, I despise that thing that you love, or vice versa. So it's cool the rare times that it happens.
And admittedly, it may have been the mood I was in the moment, that just wasn't what I was feeling. But I did not go back and give it another chance. So
I would say that you should, but I don't think I can say that in good faith.
Here's the thing. I probably won't, even if you said that. Usually I do. If you say, no, go back and give it a listen. Usually I would. In this case, I'd probably be like, pass.
I might fall on my sword for my number one, but I feel okay for you to give this a miss.
You may not have to.
Well, what did you fall on your sword at all for your number two? I don't know. I tried.
I don't think I need to here either. She's a pod favorite, so it's not a stretch at all to dive into LMI's third studio effort, Do You Still Love Me? Which officially confirms that she and executive producer Mustard have moved out of the booed up club and into a very chic candlelit lounge. This record is a total vibe shift. Her 2022 album, Heart on My Sleeve, was great, but this project feels more like a cohesive love letter with a production palette that's just warm and lush and surprisingly patient. We're talking There Goes My Heart, giving us full-blown neo-soul energy that feels like a nod to Erykah Badu or Jill Scott. Smooth bass lines, orchestral synths, and not a single unnecessary bell or whistle. It's got that grown and sexy atmosphere. The weakest track for me is 100, which it sounds fine, but Ella's out here doing relationship math, sing about how if you only got 20, she'll bring the other 80 to make it 100. It's a sweet sentiment, though in this economy, I'm not sure anybody can afford to cover the bill. Musically, Ella's vocals are as honeyed as ever. She's playing with a more subtle, lower register here that really showcases her maturity, which usually when we say that, it means it got boring. I don't mean that at all. She isn't just a lover girl anymore. She's bringing a bit of venom on tracks like Tell Her, which cleverly interpolates Destiny's Child's Say My Name to warn an ex's new girl to back off. It's that perfect mix of soulful vulnerability and don't test me energy. Compared to her R&B contemporaries like SZA or Kehlani, Ella stays more grounded in classic trap soul, but with a layer of emotional realism that likely comes from her recent transition into motherhood. She even brings in Kirk Franklin for a gospel-tinged finale on No Angels, reminding us that neither she nor her partner are perfect, though with those harmonies, she almost convinces us she is. It's a solid evolution from her previous work, and it proves she doesn't need a viral TikTok hook to stay relevant. She just needs a good groove and a calculator.
I know that I fall into the trap a lot, especially on this podcast of like the comparing one artist to another. Like this sounds like this, recommended if you like that. Which I tried not to do here, but when you literally named the two artists that immediately came to mind when I heard this track, with this album being Erykah Badu and Kehlani, I don't know how I could avoid doing that. Like it's the comparison's so spot on. And that's not to, detract from what Ella brought here, which is, like you said, it's grown up, it's mature. And the one word that really came to mind was elegant. Yeah. Like this is a very elegant, very smooth album. But it's not so smooth that it doesn't have character. It still has bite. It still has soul. It still has a soul. It just does so in a very sort of spruced up package.
Yeah, I really dug it. I've listened to it quite a bit. I usually skip the track 100 because I really don't care for that track. But the rest of the album is quite awesome.
Yeah, that was absolutely a vibe. That was one that I listened to a few tracks. I did not get a chance to listen to all of it, so I didn't want to put it on my list unfairly. But I feel like had I listened to all of it, it definitely would have been honorable mention territory and maybe would have even broken the top 3.
I imagine it would. I mean, I guess I don't know. If you listen to There Goes My Heart and Tell Her, you've probably got the top tracks on the record. So that's nice. Those are my favorites. Although No Angels is pretty great as well.
Yeah, I'll definitely be going back and re-queuing that.
All right, now tell me what I need to queue up.
Man, I think you will like this album if you haven't heard it yet. There are a lot of corollaries between what you said about that album and my number 2. And the one word there, because I guess I'm all about one words today, the one word that really kind of ties the two together is evolution. My number 2 artist is someone that I came to know as, at least from my listening of her discography at that time, a fairly in the pocket sort of bedroom pop singer. It was fine. I dug it. There were a couple of tracks that I really vibed to. It was good, but it was, somewhat one-dimensional. There wasn't really a lot of meat on the bone there. But that was 2021. Fast forward 5 years to 2026, and we have a full-fledged, well-varied, and excellently curated pop album from Claire Rosenkrantz. Her second full length is called My Lover, and it is surprisingly fantastic. Surprisingly fantastic sounds derisive, but more so the surprise is just how many different directions this album goes and how much variability that there is in the album. From I Want to Be in Love So Bad, which you would think just from the sound of the title itself would be very cheesy and very tropey, but it's not. It's very fun and very light and very airy. but it is not at all kind of the sodden, like sugary saccharin. That's the word. It's not like the saccharin sort of feel. It's just a fun track. Contrasting with that is the track Chronic, where she speaks candidly about a chronic illness that she had went through sometime in the past. Both songs fit the album despite being kind of diametrically opposed, both in sound and obviously in theme. And there's a lot of that here. There's a lot of really good production, really great instrumentation. Claire's voice is exactly what it needs to be for each individual track. Just to see kind of where she was, and granted, 5 years is a very long time for any of us, much less in the music industry, but it was cool to kind of see that evolution and see where we got to now, and kind of wonder what happens in 2031. What kind of Claire Rosenkrantz album are we going to get then? So yeah, very cool album, very exciting to see what comes next.
I feel like I listened to that, but I don't remember it. When I had to look up while you were talking to see when it came out, because it was toward the beginning of the month. Yep. And either I didn't listen to it because the album cover also does not. When you said Claire Rosenkrantz, I'm like, oh, that sounds really familiar. What did I think of that? And I looked through my notes and it wasn't there. So I must not have listened to it. But now I feel like I need to, because that sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, I think you will dig it. I don't know that I would have listened to it if not having been familiar with her already, but like I said, I'm glad that I did. Kind of like I guess a Rebecca Black-esque sort of like evolution and transition of sound. Not a similar sound, but a similar, evolution.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll have to check her out.
What else should the listeners check out, Jay? What are your honorable mentions for the month?
Oh, so many things in a variety of sounds. Nice. We're going to start with the one I thought was going to make my top 3, but didn't. Actually, there's a couple of those right here. We'll start with Pucifer and Normal Isn't, which I loved. Don't get me wrong. It's a bass-heavy, gritty reality check that proves that Maynard and Karina and company are still the undisputed queens of making unsettling sound incredibly cool. It's very cool. And it just got edged out by Willow. I also throw the Gorillas into this category here with The Mountain. And this is Damon taking us on a psychedelic tour of India to process grief. And honestly, if this is what the afterlife sounds like, sign me up for the sitar lessons, because it was cool as hell. It's lush and contemplative. And I don't know, maybe existential dread is a world-class dance party. I don't know. It was cool. I liked it a lot.
Hell yeah.
I have Mira, who I've been a fan of for going on 30 years now almost. And it's a masterclass in indie pop intimacy. Baroque pop hug for people who like their lyrics poetic and their arrangements intricate. It's her 7th record. She doesn't release very frequently. And she's still finding new ways to break our hearts beautifully. Let's go with Hemlock Springs. This one was a new one for me. And she's a wild ride. Her album is called it's The Apple Tree Under the Sea. Imagine a medieval princess found a synthesizer and decided to write the most vibrant, cartoonishly intense debut of the decade. That's this record. It's a Technicolor fever dream that's so much fun, you're going to forget you're listening to a DIY project and start looking for your own digital crown. Like, the fact that it is a DIY project is crazy. It sounds so good, but it's a wild ride. So if you haven't listened to that, I highly recommend it.
The album art is fantastic too.
Yeah, it's so good. The whole thing. How about Howling Bells? Strange Life. 12 years was a long time to wait for their record, but this shoegazy, gritty, but romantic return proves they've aged like a very expensive, very moody red wine. It's familiar and refined, and it reminds us that the world is always a little better when Juanita Stein is singing about it. And then I guess I got a couple more. Joji, Props. Piss in the Wind is a good record. Don't let the chaotic title fool you. It's melancholic. It's a vibe fest. It's woozy trap and falsetto into high art heartbreak. It feels like you're like staring out a rainy window and wondering if your ex still has your favorite hoodie.
I like that.
Yeah, I really dug the record a lot. It was a lot of fun. I also want to shout out Mitski, though I didn't write anything about it. Her new record is called Nothing's About to Happen to Me, and it's very different from Mitski. A little louder, a little more intense, still incredibly cool, and I dug it. And then Rob Zombie and his record, The Great Satan. I really like this album. It's better than the last handful of things he's come out with. I will say that it made me want to listen to White Zombie more than it did make me want to continue listening to Rob Zombie, which is simultaneously a negative and a positive because it reminds me of all of my favorite things that he did back in the 90s. But also I forgot most of what was on this record almost immediately upon listening to it. With the exception of the song Sir Lord Acid Wolfman, which sounds like Tom Waits. It's so bizarre and so cool, and I love every second of it.
Amazing.
Also, the title is Vintage Rob Zombie.
Truly it is. As only he could.
Yeah, and that's I think that's all I want to mention. How about you?
So I will mention one that you just brought up, and that's Nothing's Gonna Happen to Me by Mitski. I say as long as I've been buying vinyl records, which honestly has only been like 5 years. Like it's a very relatively new hobby for me. This album was the very first time that I bought an album sight unseen based on the album art alone.
Fair enough.
Because it is awesome. It's a white cat with heterochromia, just looking off into the distance with an orange cat that's very clearly about to attack. Right off frame, the main frame cat just completely unaware. That certainly feeds into the theme of the album, which, as Jay put perfectly, is a little bit more than we expect from Mitski, a little bit louder, but no less cool. Excellent album. Also, Chicago's finest indie outfit, Rat Boys. Their album "Singing to an Empty Chair," very much in the vein of like the New Pornographers, kind of that kind of vibe. Producer Nikki and I had the privilege of being able to see them open for the Decemberist early last year, and yeah, they absolutely tore the house down. It was a killer show. They had a killer set, and they followed it up this year with a killer album. So yeah, absolutely awesome listen. Newfound Glory with Listen Up. Okay, it's Newfound Glory. There's really, what am I going to say that you don't already know? If you like Newfound Glory, you're going to like this album. If you don't, you're not going to like it. It's the same sound. I don't say that to be nasty. It's just how it is. They have a very signature sound and they stick to it. There's something to be said about that. Hilary Duff with a new album, Luck or Something. Solid, mature, good, unremarkable. Yes, but this isn't the Hilary Duff of yesteryear. This is, obviously she's grown up. The music, the sound has grown up. It's a good listen. Let's see. I also had, because you reminded me that Jill Scott put out an album, and I completely had forgotten about it until this moment. I'm going to go ahead and retroactively put To Whom It May Concern on my honorable mentions, which is where it would have ended up, if not in my top 3, had I listened to it. It's Jill Scott. It's going to be amazing. I think she also had a Tiny Desk concert come out in February as well. So that's another thing on my list to go check out, as well as all of you should as well. And then finally, We Mean It Man, the 7th, because I didn't do research, some numbers of studio albums from Gogol Bordello. The band continues making just fantastic Ukrainian and Romani music. I came to know about them in the early 2000s and really forgot about them until this exact moment. But it still absolutely slaps. The messaging is absolutely amazing. The front man is still doing his thing. That's Eugene Hutz, Ukrainian American, just absolute songsmith and just amazing music. So yeah, absolutely loved every minute of that album.
Yeah. I also have been a fan of Gogol Bordello for like a long time, and I didn't like this album as much as you did, apparently. I really liked it. It was good, particularly the messaging and lyricism. I for some reason, the music didn't strike me as much as some of their older stuff. A little less gypsy, a little more punk.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right? Like that's it's cool. Like, it was a really good record. I really enjoyed it. But there was something else I was going to say about another record you talked about, and I don't remember what it was.
It'll come to you right when you're in the middle of talking about your number one. You'll be like, oh shit, it was that.
Well, probably not. I'll be absorbed in what I'm talking about with my number one.
Nice. Have at it.
According to, by RJD2 and Superstition, has been my favorite album of February 2026 because it's just awesome. It's just so good. It feels intentional in a way that a lot of hip hop releases just don't anymore. Okay, cool. RJD2's production, it leans into warm, layered boom bap textures without sounding dusty or dated. The drums knock, but they're clean. The samples are curated. They're not cluttered. There's space in the mixes, which lets every snare, bass line, and melodic loop breathe. It's got that head nod factor, but it's not trying to overwhelm you with gimmicks or trend chasing production tricks. The beats feel lived in and confident, like they know exactly what they're doing. What really seals it for me, though, is Superstition's delivery. Other reviewers, like if you look up stuff online, they talk about like his sharp, reflective lyricism and the way he balances introspection with momentum. And that's it. That is exactly what stands out on this record. His flow is steady. It's not predictable, but it's easy. He shifts cadences enough to keep things interesting without sacrificing any clarity. His energy is not chaotic. It's very focused. He raps like somebody who's actually experiencing the things he's talking about, whether that's industry frustration or personal growth or just adulting. And the chemistry between the two of them feels perfect. It's so natural. It's not forced at all. And it makes the album cohesive from front to back. There were a lot of, let's say, flashy releases this month, but this one I kept going back to because it felt grounded and real, and it dominated the last week and change. I mean, it dropped in the last week of February, so that's it. I've been killing it ever since then. That's what's been on rotation.
Sigh. I forgot about it.
Oh my God, man. I half expected, because it wasn't in your honorable mentions. I thought we have the same number one record. I thought
it might have been if I'm so, and because I mean, and listeners, some of you might know how much I love RJD2. I don't like, I remember seeing this and thinking like, this is circled. This has the asterisk. This is bolded. This is definitely on the short list. It just fell through the cracks, man. I'm very disappointed about that.
Stupid work getting in the way of awesome.
I'm telling you. I mean, just knowing some of the samples, some of the RJD2 samples and production that I've heard throughout the years, like I have a general feeling of the level of awesomeness that we're looking at. Yeah, he just, the man knows his way around a crate.
He's so good. And then there's like, J Live makes an appearance on a couple of tracks, which I love him. So like, they killed it. It's so good.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Superstition, but I feel like I need to be, just based on your assessment alone. So I might have some more to backlog to look through of some of his earlier work.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet either. This is a new one for me, but it was killer.
Yeah. Oh, that and Jill Scott. I'm just kicking myself.
Will I kick myself for your number one?
Oh my gosh. I was not expecting my number one to be my number one, to be totally honest. There is a podcast, and I want to make sure that I get the other host, but it's called Hard Lore. And it is an exquisite podcast that a friend of mine kind of hooked me up to, talking about some of the history of the hardcore scene and hardcore bands, with interviews from various titans and legends of the hardcore music scene. Looks like Bo Luders was the other host that I couldn't remember. Colin Young is the host that I could remember because he fucking rocks. And they had recently had just a slew of really awesome acts, really awesome vocalists, musicians on, and every show they would say, like, what are your top 4 hardcore albums of all time? Like, what are your favorite hardcore albums? And the one band that kept coming up over and over and over again is a band that I'm embarrassed I was unfamiliar with, and that is Converge. So I thought, you know what? It's time to get familiar with Converge. Threw on the album that kept coming up more than any of them, which was Jane Doe, and it fucking rocked my socks off. That was from like 2001. And then noticed that Converge had a release this month, or back in February, which was Love Is Not Enough. And I was not prepared for my socks to get knocked off twice in such a short period. And yet, here we are. As someone who has not been a fan of hardcore music for a very long time, and is still not like a super fan of the genre, like, this album was just everything. It was powerful, but it's still very elegant, yet still very accessible, yet still very, I know the listeners can't see my, kind of that old Maxell commercial for all you olds out there with the big speaker kind of blowing you back with its wind. That was basically me the entire time I listened to this album. The title track leading off the album, amazing. Amon Amok, absolutely astounding track. This is hardcore by numbers, and I don't say that at all derisively. I feel like this is an album that makes me want to get into the genre even more, both Converge and other bands too. So yeah, if y'all don't see me, it's probably them catching up on old episodes of Hard Lore and then alternating that with old Converge albums.
Nice. Good. No notes
The whole
on
thing
that
is your
one at
fault,
all.
by the way, Jay. From the beginning, it's Hard Lore now, but it was you from 6 years ago.
You know what? I'll take the hit on that one. But truthfully, and here's the thing. So I did not listen to this record, and shame on me for that. Maybe I do like a lot of Converge's work. Did not listen to this record. Haven't truly listened to much Converge since Stephen Brodsky left the band.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm a fan of Mutoid Man and Old Man Gloom and all that kind of stuff. So no, it's probably a wonderful record, and I do really like Converge. I did listen to the first track off of it because it came up in a playlist when I was doing metalcore stuff, but I never went back and listened to the rest of it. So yeah, I guess shame on me for that one. I missed it. Must have just been real. I mean, look at my top 3. I really must have been in more of a hip hop and soul vibe over the course of this month.
I feel that. That's a good vibe to be in, I feel like, overall.
Yeah, I'm not mad at it.
I think we had I think we maybe had like 2 honorable mentions overlap. That might be the smallest amount of overlap that we've had.
It was a busy month.
Truly. It was good. There was a lot going on and a lot of good. It did not feel like a mushy middle kind of thing. So I was pretty stoked about that.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
We make our way over to the charting singles. And Dan, I know you mentioned earlier in the show that you had also a very busy, very full month of music. Go ahead and let us know what you thought, what was at the top, the bottom.
Sure. And some of this may seem a little familiar to one of you, actually. But we'll get there. Let me get there with a couple honorable mentions. And I want to put one as a swerve because I didn't expect it to come back up and go, man, maybe I underestimated that one. Because it was like one of the last pop songs would have thought would have. But Katy Perry's latest single's not bad. It's called Band-Aids. It's very Katy Perry. Not bad at all.
I did not catch that. I think the last Katy Perry song I listened to was just abhorrent, and I haven't even thought about her since. So I think maybe it's time to get back.
That was also what kind of drove me back to it as I was re-listening through lists, is that I wasn't bored by it, like the last couple of attempts at a comeback.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know.
It's penciling in there.
All right.
On the ones I was prepared for, though. Nope, go ahead. Because, I mean, I saw your face. No one else did.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I just don't believe you. It's fine.
Amazing.
I mean, I don't have an argument against nuh-uh, but
I haven't heard it. I have no actual argument, so there we are.
I just said it just kind of stuck in my head the last couple of times here. The actual ones I prepared for, I had a pair of them. It's Zara Larsson and Midnight Sun deserves a honorable mention. And I 100% agree with All Music when they called this euphoric hyperpop. You may not always want this much sugar, but you know that when you do, the rush will totally be worth it, and you'll have a good time in the process. And that's what this song exactly embodies. And then Ella Langley back on it with a Be Her, and it's possibly her poppiest track I've heard so far. And not that that's really a bad thing, though. I think you have a borderline girl crush theme here in this very sugary, happy sounding, sad song package.
Right on.
Yeah, I think a lot of similarities between those two tracks. Hyperpop is not a genre or a title that I've heard before, but yeah, that absolutely, it's like literally like driving through a neutron star is Midnight Sun.
I have a teenage son. Hyperpop is all over the place.
I need to do an episode on that.
Now I want to dive into some playlists. But I also need to make sure that I have enough insulin to make it through said playlists.
We'll bring him on an episode when we start talking about glitch hyperpop.
Oh heavens, I'm too old for this.
Yeah. Oh my God, my back just seized up when you said that. Oh my God.
Straight to the chiropractor after
that episode. You'll feel like you've had a stroke.
Oh boy.
In the best way.
So let me start with a track from one of the two records that had a solid release showing. I know I'm going to get pushback, but I'm sorry. The Best Off, a pretty good Octane album. We're talking about Don Toliver featuring Rima and Secondhand. The track, it's a plea to a former lover, trying to convince them that they really do belong together and that the protagonist would do anything to get back with her. Pretty standard fare, if you're going to lyrically judge it. Has some Afrobeat elements, but it's very atmospheric and light, while the mellow, melodic R&B vocals are here from both Toliver and Rima, and they're the highlight. It's the production that steals the show as the hero, and actually really does so on the album as a whole. There's a stark contrast that actually works really, really well in the beat, and it's more driving rhythm and all the effects around it, which I feel like they're trying to slow down the effects of the beat. That wants you to nod along at a medium pace while the electric piano and synth chords are trying to act as molasses, slowing you down to take in the emotional center of this track.
I usually hate that. The artificial, like slow kind of sludge, not sludge as genre, but sludge as, like you said, kind of walking through a field of molasses. But in Secondhand, like it just works. It feels muted. It feels isolated. It feels like you're, on a spacewalk.
And again, in complete contrast to the construction of the beat.
Yes, 100%.
And that might be why it worked, because it just clashes in the best way possible.
On this rare occasion, I'm actually have heard this and agree with you.
Wow. Okay.
2 for 2.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, song number 2 this month comes from the other album that charted multiple tracks in the top 40 the week of its release. It debuted actually on the Billboard 200 at number 1. And it's a very familiar record because it took 10 years to come to fruition, with a short, distant distraction along the way. A 7-minute drill pause, if you will, because we finally got the fall off from J. Cole with February's number 2 song, Safety. First and foremost, this track helped solidify Cole as one of the best storytellers in hip-hop today. He packs so much into the song's 5 minutes, and in the opposite of Secondhand, it is Cole and his words that are the feature here. Just 3 epic verses over a pretty standard beat, but there's so much Cole here that you barely notice the levels of simplicity working underneath. as he weaves a trio of tales of getting messages from friends back home, wishing he'd come through, and updating him on the latest about the neighborhood, and a verse where he clumsily expresses regret over pushing a friend away over their sexual orientation. It admittedly is not the greatest, and either Cole is poorly attempting to make amends for his less than respectful treatment of the LGBTQ plus community in past songs, or him awkwardly trying to express his regret over the loss of a friend. But even as he bobbles the meaning of the third verse, he still manages to create a poetic tornado of heart and corporality that makes Safety a standout of the record and of the month.
I'm reminded that like I needed a like Cliff's Notes when I was looking at the lyrics of this song way back when, and looking at it now and remembering like there is so much Cole in this song, but it doesn't overstay its welcome, despite how dense it is.
No, dense is a great way to put it. And as I said, you look at it and go, that's a 5-minute track. That's normally not what spends a lot of time on the charts, but it doesn't feel like a 5-minute track, if that makes sense.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't. Yeah, agreed that the third verse is quite ham-fisted as well. You just hope that like the meaning and the sentiment behind that is the right one. It seems like maybe it's just a poor choice of storytelling for someone who is such a great storyteller, which that part is a bit surprising.
Yeah. And it says something about everything else that he can fumble almost a third of it clumsily and still turn out such a great track.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Well, I think those were 3 and 2. So do we got to go to the bottom? We got to go to the bottom, right?
We got to go to the bottom. There's a lot of them. This honorable mention is a bit of a surprise considering how good his last 2 records were. But as for the first single off the solidly named Kiss All the Time, Disco Occasionally, Harry Styles' Aperture is a bit of a slog that never really seems to get out of first gear, which I suppose is fine if that's the intent. But I don't know. He's not an artist who really should work well in just idling, so to speak, to continue the motoring metaphor. I'm hoping this one was one of those things I just don't get until I go back and listen to the whole record, and then it makes more sense as a piece of the whole. But as a single, nah, that's not so much.
Fourth wall break. I mean, we don't really have to. We already know that we're late in the month doing this, so I have already listened to the record as a whole as it had dropped previous to this recording. Actually listened to the second half of it this morning. So I will say that Aperture is still a slog.
Okay. Spoiler alert, but I'm okay. But at least I feel like I nailed the aura right away, not needing the rest of the context of the rest of the album.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't change the context of the album.
Okay.
Or the album doesn't, you know what I'm saying. You got it. I'm not going to go into, I will admit to already enjoying the record. I will admit to that, but it probably will not make any top 3 list by the end of the month.
Fair.
A couple of tracks might.
As I say, for all I know, I'll have more of those songs to talk about next month as well.
You probably will.
I have not seen the new chart. I don't think it comes out until tomorrow, the day that we're recording this, which when all those initial streams would hit. So,
yeah, it's like, I mean, there's some real good tracks on the record. Like no joke, there's some tracks I really, really liked.
Nice.
That one,
Aperture, not so much. No.
That wasn't one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, it's wild to think that Aperture and Safety are about 6 seconds apart in runtime, but one of those songs feels like it takes a year, and the other one feels like it takes 12 seconds.
Yeah, right? you know Aperture is a 5-minute song. Like, you know.
Like I said, the bottom is old school, and the next 2 songs are absolutely characterized by utter mehness, and the return of some trends in country music that I'd really hope we've moved past. That is correct. I probably have been far too nice to Music Row for the last several months, and it's time for them to get these hands again.
Get them.
Let me point out something that should put the extreme averageness and worse that the bottom 3 resides. There was a song on the charts this month by sorry, let me do it right.
Hardy,
featuring Eric Church, Morgan Wallen, and Tim McGraw called MacArthur that finished 3 spots out of the drop zone. And all I could say about it is that it's another tired trope of bro country, but not as offensive as the lineup would suggest. It's fine if you're looking for a bland, "What's My Legacy Gonna Be" song set to the sounds of a Ken Burns film produced on a Roger Corman budget. And all of that was not mid enough to dislodge song 25 this month, Luke Combs' "Be By You." Because if you thought that middle-of-the-road boyfriend country died in 2022, boy, have I got some news for you. That trend has unfortunately not run its course. It is alive. Wellness may vary by ear. But man, is there just not a whole lot here. It is the candy floss of a country single. It is sugary and light, and it'll come with a little bit of a rush because there's an attempt at some emotions here. But like many of the entries in the genre, it sounds genuine and impassioned and heartfelt, but when you actually slow down and listen and put some consideration to it, it's nothing but vapid platitudes and greeting card levels of romanticism. Dan and Shay would be jealous at the accomplishment here, but if you were hoping for love or even some you would be better off looking many, many elsewheres.
Be By You is a glass of the finest Louisiana sweet tea, as consumed by someone who quickly realizes that Louisiana sweet tea absolutely fucking sucks.
It is a glass of instant type 2. That is it. There is nothing in that glass but sucrose.
I think my favorite line in the song is, "I'm stuck to you like glue, on your hip like a pistol." That's it. That's the end of the line.
Oh, no. I know. I'm just diagramming the sentence in my head.
Uh-huh.
And because there's not enough syntax to separate these two ideas, I have to ask why you're gluing your pistol to your hip, because you can't shoot it if it's glued to your goddamn hip.
You can. You just hit yourself in the foot.
Well, hey,
Which is
actually,
the perfect
It's a perfect
metaphor works out better.
Song sucks. I really hope I don't get asked to DJ any weddings this year.
Oh,
no.
God. Yeah, that's going to be a thing.
Oof.
And you know what's really disappointing, too, is I'd come around on his cover of Fast Car and accepted it and given it all the praise it deserves.
Mm-hmm.
And then you turn around and do this, man.
Finally worked up some goodwill, Luke.
It's gone like the Goodwill games. Uh-oh.
But somehow not the worst song of the month.
Nope. Somehow not the worst. However,
Shudder
a
to
lot
think.
of what I said about number 25 also applies for number 26. Just coming at things from the other direction. So Jason Aldean has a record coming out in April, and the lead single finally hit the top 40, climbing its way up after being released back in September. And it's, as Aldean himself explained in announcing the release, a song written for anybody who has ever felt the sting of a breakup. He then proceeds to spend the next 4 minutes failing to convey anything that remotely sounds like an emotion. It's how far does a goodbye go? Also, for the record, he shows incredible restraint. It takes us 26 seconds to get our first line about whiskey, so you can mark that one off your bingo cards. And therein lies the theme of the song. Another paint-by-numbers heartbreak song, which, ironically enough, fails to convey the actual sting of a breakup while achieving Aldean's stated goal of performing a song for any breakup. Once again, we're confronted with a plain, sterile expression of emotion, or an attempt at expressing emotions that are as nutritious and satiating as a tub of light Cool Whip with extra air whipped into it. Everything here is just pedestrian. But the reason it beat out Be By You is probably just a me thing. Aldean really seems to work a lot of vocal sliding into this song, especially in the chorus, and it just grates on my ears. I don't know why. I don't know if I was just having a bad day when I listened to this song. the expressions I'm getting prove maybe I'm not. And I don't even know if this is a thing that he just does and I never had to notice, but it's become the latest entry on the list of things that turn my spinal cord to glass. A list I never thought would get as long as it did until I started this job. And, oh boy.
Yeah, I would argue that you were having a bad day because you listened to this song, not the other way around.
Jay, I will see your "I'm stuck to you like glue" on your hip like a pistol, and I will raise you a "Is she big sky, fast lane gone, got the horses running?" That is a question because it ends with a question mark and for literally no other reason.
It starts with is.
Is she big? Hit that one again.
Is she big sky, fast lane gone, got the horses running? Question mark.
God damn it.
Get your finest English teachers.
No, I made sense of it. I hate myself so much.
Oh, no, you're the problem, bro.
No, the problem is there are multiple metaphors at work.
Mm-hmm.
No, there's not. You can try it. You can try to do that. It is not a metaphor. He's talking about driving fast in Montana.
Yeah.
That's it.
But at least it feels like it's implied that she is that far away. Like she is checked so far out that she may as well be in Montana driving 90. Apparently also with a pack of Mustangs running behind. Because like that's what I'm saying. Like that all is layered on top of each other. But it's like water and oil and marshmallow and cow shit.
It's at least one of those things.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Agreed. Oh, it's so ass. Why? Why does this happen? Like, why do they do it? They just could not. It would be so much easier to just not have put out the song. Like, it took so much less energy.
Why is Jason Aldean?
A great question.
Why is yes,
Jason Aldean? Discuss.
If there's any remote positive we can try to pull from this, and actually I'm not sure if it's a positive or not, but it's that it took it 7 months to climb to this part of the chart.
Yeah, that's that thing. And I don't know if that's the normal bubble up for a country. Well, obviously not, because Ella Langley's blowing up that chart and at a rocket speed. And that's probably because talent. But, I don't think I thought that might just be the normal cycle of a country song in the pop environment, but clearly it's not.
No, and also like, yeah, I'm torn because it took it a long time to climb this part, but that means it hung on for like 7 months.
We could write a dissertation about country radio and how it may actually be the singular radio format that still has a massive amount of pull when it comes to its genre's industry, and that's not necessarily a positive.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be the one to write that one. I made the decision actually this weekend that I wanted to finally sign doctor next to my name, so I can officially now then sign documents Reverend Doctor. But it turns out all it's going to take is like a $300 course instead of a PhD dissertation where I spend four years writing in hell.
Not a bad price to pay for the PhD.
To be able to sign Reverend Doctor? Hell no.
Right.
Oh my God.
But I digress.
We all do. That's all we do.
That's literally the podcast.
That is literally the whole show. If that phrase wasn't damn near trademarked, we could just rename the show, But I Digress.
Oh, that would have been good.
But it brings us down here. And boys, song number 27 isn't quite as pedestrian as its compatriots, though it is equally as lazy. So let me ask you this. What is country music's favorite subject? Modern country music's favorite subject, that is. There are probably no wrong answers here.
Browbeating the marginalized.
Ooh, I like Jay's better. I'm going to take Jay's if that's okay.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But there's one thing that modern country music likes talking about more than that. And that would, of course, be country music and how good it used to be, which there's layers upon layers of irony there, but we don't have the time. But the latest offender who made me listen to their misty watercolor memories of the way Nashville were comes from a quote-unquote favorite unquote of these segments. Because the worst charting song of February 2026, you thought you got away scot-free, but psych, Hardy, and favorite country song. So let me tell you how this song fucked me up, and I'll get here today. So let me just read you my notes because it sums up what this song comes to. First listen through, this is what I wrote down. Is really just going to be an entire song of other songs and a hook about how great those other songs are? We're really doing this? Fuck. And that's exactly it for the start, although there's a lyrical twist. It doesn't make it any better, but there is a twist. It does take Hardy about a minute to get through all of his references to the classics he grew up with, like Zac Brown Band's Chicken Fried. Classic, though? Jesus, fuck, I'm old. At least there's some Brooks and Dunn and Hank Jr. and Kenny Chesney span the generations a little bit there. But 60 seconds of mental masturbation before we get to the thesis of the song. Nature is his favorite country song. Yes, so I was wrong and I was right, and it took me a third of the song to get to the original material to prove as such. Yes, I realized I got swerved by my own notes and literally had to change my thesis mid-rant. That's how much this song messed me up. The song's still on the backside of the bell curve, speeding towards bad. Let's not start expecting Picasso's from him or me now. Side note, this is one of 6 songs off the 20-song Country Country record with the word country in the title. And at this point, I'm wondering if he's trying to convince me or himself about the countryness of him in the record. The production is interesting because it is so stop and start that you'll feel like the track is over about 4 times through the song. Not like glitching, but like full whole all stop. Continue. But if it had stopped any one of those 4 times, it may not have been a bad thing. Getting down to brass tacks, this is another boring song off a really boring album that is at least bad in a different way than the country metal rock thing that he was doing a few years ago. But at the end of the day, mediocre is mediocre, and mediocre doesn't cut it in a month where we got good country from Ella, good tooth-rotting pop from Zara, good records from Don Toliver and J. Cole, and an actual country single from Noah Kahan that just missed the top 3 in the form of The Great Divide. Favorite country song, just don't make basis.
I wonder if the whole point of Hardy is just to like increase SEO. Like we're just gonna spam everything with the word country and see what happens.
I laugh because part of me is very fearful that you're not that far off from the truth. That somebody just ran the numbers.
Yeah.
And like there's someone in our office that's her job is to maintain SEO optimization by doing a ton of research into the things that we're putting out. And maybe Hardy has someone in there too in the entourage just run the numbers. Just scraping Googles.
Jesus. I don't know if you got a chance to look at the music video, but you will be glad to know that it actually hits on yet another country music trope, and that is the troops. Coming home, we see a young man in 2006 in Clarksville, Tennessee. We don't know who he is, at least by my very quick glancing at the video. We have no idea who this person is, besides the fact that he's a soldier presumably coming back from some conflict and surprising his kids, which is a lovely sentiment and is fine. But what the fuck does that have to do with the Zac Brown Band and whippoorwills? Dare I posit, Hardy, where's the tie-in?
Country. He is clearly a member of a country's army and therefore is country.
Oh, like country as in like nation state shit.
Sure. So they can there's got to be a double country in there somewhere because the record is country. So you got to have it's got to work on sometimes you got to really stretch to make a metaphor.
Holy shit. Is Hardy like a secret GeoGuessr pro? Is that what we're getting at?
Not at all.
He knows a country. He may not know other countries, but
now I think you're hitting closer to home.
There we go. I'm with you, Hardy. I was right there. Maybe that's the sad thing is this is probably someone's favorite country song. And that makes me so just sad as a person who's listened to music before.
There's like a lot of other ones and they're all far better, Bo. Like, come on. Like, we can find you better music. That's all I'm saying. That is our promise to you. If this is your favorite country song, we are here to help. We are offering, the phone lines are open. Just hit us up on your favorite socials at Fairly KickAss and ask and say, my favorite country song is favorite country song. And one of our representatives will respond with a playlist to help you through this dark time. And together we can bring you through, maintain that love of country music, but actual good country music.
For that whole thing, I felt like I had to like put a hat on just so I could take it off.
Can we get a PSA with Sally Struthers? Like,
every year, hundreds of children are subjected to an auditory horror known as Hardy albums.
In the arms
but you can help
Hardy.
With a mere social media post, just one a month. You can help save the children's ears. I'm gonna stop now because I'm even doing the thing with the hands.
Yeah, you are.
Like, how else are you supposed to deliver this message without doing little hands together pokey thingy that you can't see I'm doing?
You got me reaching.
But
for
you
my
know
wallet,
exactly
bro.
what I'm
That's all I
saying
gotta
when I'm
say.
doing this tone. Can I please move on to something good?
Yeah, let's do that.
Thank you.
God damn.
Oh, I don't know if that's the best or worst thing I've ever done on this show. Probably a little from column A, a little from column
yes.
B. Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
It's not mutually exclusive, actually.
True.
That's, you're not, where are you wrong? Let's try to land the plane here and go back to the top of the month and a song that I actually didn't expect to like as much as I turned out to. It's not Katy Perry, but it is one of those that took a couple listens to really like fill itself out in my brain. And then once it did, there was no getting rid of it. There were a couple things that were impressive to me right off the bat on this one. First, that this artist is just 16. She manages to find a way to sound a lot more mature than her age with her emotional subject matter. Despite having a trip as the UK's representative to Junior Eurovision a couple of years ago, the lead single from her debut EP hit the top 40 and has yet to chart in her native country. Go figure. That EP coming with an interesting explanation from Freya Sky, telling people about the songs on Stardust. Quote, the meaning just came to it being the songs in the EP are the Stardust. They're a bit broken when they're separated and they're a bit messy, very honest, but then when you put it together, it tells the full story. It just felt perfect. And Silent Treatment perfectly fits in our favorite genre, that happy sounding sad song. Don't get me wrong, there's as much anger here as hurt, but it's wrapped up in slick, jangly production that's topped off with a sound that I can best describe as indie pop chorus. If you've heard it before, you'll immediately recognize it here. It's if you know, you know. And that's all a very long way, or longer because I stumbled so many times, way to say that Silent Treatment is the top charting single of February.
I did listen to a few tracks off of this full album, off of Stardust, and I liked what I heard. It wasn't quite to honorable mention territory. I don't know if I listened to Silent Treatment. I just played it through as you were talking about it, and yeah, it's fairly indicative of the rest of the album. It's good. It's solid. It's really well thought out. The lyrics aren't anything special, nor do they need to be for this track. I think they fit in perfectly.
I haven't heard it. I have no comment.
No. Just leaving a hole for you. Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but I have nothing to contribute.
Fair enough. Yeah, and I mean, you could compare it to, and I know it's a stretch, because boy, did she take a major divergence, but from like the first couple of tracks we heard now 5 or 6 years ago from Tate McRae, and then to where she is now, and going, you can see the foundations here. and maybe a little alteration on the guidance on the trajectory, and we might just have a next big pop star coming out of the UK.
Right on.
But a solid song nonetheless.
Yeah, it's amazing to think, like, just like I was talking about with Claire Rosencrantz, same deal. Like, what are we looking at in the next album? And maybe that sets expectations unfairly high for a lot of artists, but it's kind of hard. It's more like excitement. It's more like hype. It's not like you better do good. It's like, I think you're going to do good. And I'm really stoked about that.
I'm sorry that we've had this conversation about these two artists. We've done it in the past. It almost feels like that we are talking about college prospects going, when in 3 years they're draft eligible. The jump they should be able to make from their sophomore year to their senior year is going to be impressive. And their next album should be day one draft material.
Yeah, you're talking a high first round album. Absolutely.
And with that, again, I should probably stop.
I'm stuck on the PSA.
Well, listeners, luckily for you, you do not have to pay just $1 a day to get a hold of any of us in KickAss Nation. All you have to do is get out your device of choice and hit up Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, or TikTok. Fairly Kickass across the whole lot of them. fairlykickass@gmail.com. What do we want to ask them? If their favorite country song is favorite country song, and then summarily ban them forever?
No, we're offering assistance. We're trying to help.
Oh, that's right. Helping is hard sometimes. I'm not gonna lie.
Listen, sometimes a slap up the backside of the head is enough help somebody needs.
It's a great motivator. If you feel so motivated to check out all of our other episodes, then feel free to get on your podcast provider of choice. Apple Music and Spotify and YouTube, believe it or not, also has podcasts, and we're one of them. One of the podcasts on YouTube. You can put that on a plaque or something. But if you can't find us, please let us know in all the ways I just mentioned, and we will make sure to get on your podcast provider of choice. We haven't had any that we've noticed that we're missing on lately. We had a couple, like maybe this time last year, but easy enough to get it put through. And you'll be able to listen to us in wherever you would like if we're not there already.
We're taking over, or something like that.